Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down the side.
We're back, baby. Welcome to a brand new season of the 49er Faithful UK show. Brand new season, but same old faces. I'm Gareth Ellis, back again after woefully overestimating my free agent market, and still a bit bitter I haven't been snapped up by the NFL Network. But joining me as we queue patiently to get on the Niners roller coaster, and still on his rookie contract and an absolute bargain, is Paul Hope.
Hi everyone, great to be back. I've missed you chaps, and I'm looking forward to getting into it all with you guys tonight.
Worth every penny of his team-friendly deal, it's Nadgy.
Hello everyone. Yeah, can't wait for this. It's been a while. Hi everyone.
And all smiles as the team groans under the weight of his bloated veterans contract. It's Lee Gowland.
I wondered what mine was going to be. Hi guys, it's great to be back. I wish I could say I was refreshed, but I'm not.
It's far too busy.
Yeah, far too busy.
Yeah.
But you've had a good break? Good Easter?
We couldn't call that a break. I've been so busy.
Yeah,
I think I've had 3 days off since last time, maybe.
I thought mine was going to be nice and relaxing because I've just come back off a cruise yesterday, but it's been one of the most tiring cruises I've ever been on because of the amount of walking we did. But it was all good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Even went to Nadgy's homeland, France.
Oh, what? How dare you?
Yeah. I went to Ajaccio and Corsica. I didn't particularly like it though. They didn't speak French the right way.
Corsica's weird. It doesn't really count as France.
I've been doing this podcast for 4 years now, and I can understand every single word that Nadgy says, but I couldn't understand a single word that these guys say in Corsica.
Oh yeah, no, totally different French.
Yeah, completely different.
So, it's mid-April and we're into the dregs of free agency. We covered the welcome arrival of Javon Hargrave on our live show, our tipping our toe into the live streaming. Well, sort of went well, I think. It's quite long, as I recall. But hopefully we've all recovered from it. We have signed a few new faces since then, re-signed a few familiar faces, and lost a few faces along the way. We'll have a quick whip round of the new signings, and you guys can let me know if there's any guys who particularly caught your eye. We have signed defensive end Austin Bryant, guard John Feliciano, defensive back Miles Hartfield, cornerback Isaiah Oliver, defensive end Clelin Farrell, QB Sam Darnold, kicker Matt Pryor, kicker Zane Gonzalez, and Matt Pryor, who is Nadgy.
O-line. I think it's a tackle.
O-line.
I think it's a tackle. Yeah.
Tackle.
I think it's a tackle.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly, but yeah.
Hopefully I'll remember his name when the season starts. Who caught your eye, lads? Who's a good signing?
Who wants to go first?
I think Farrell caught my eye. I think given how well we are coached on D-line, I think he could up his game. Obviously, he went in the first round, same year as Nick Bosa. There was a lot touted about him. He didn't really live up to those expectations at the Raiders, but let's face it, how many players have lived up to expectation at the Raiders over the last few years? So I think it's a very good pickup. It's a good team-friendly deal. I think he'll flourish in our environment, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him play.
Yeah. Me too. Really liked him out of college. At Clemson, he was kind of the dude when they won the championship, and when he got drafted by the Raiders, he's supposed to have a better career than that. I mean, every first round pick, right? You aspire to more than that. Solomon Thomas, we were looking at you, but yeah, it could be a massive addition. One of those guys that could well earn an unsung hero by the time the season's done. That kind of guy that has like 5-6 sack and always grinding and kind of elevate everybody around and has a few turnover plays. I'm looking forward to it. I like those signings, slightly under the radar with a bit of positive behind it. For former first rounder sounds pretty good. So looking forward to that. What about you, Paul? Excited for the next Raiders?
Yeah, well, as Lee said, former number 4 pick, Nadgy, death, taxes, and the 49ers bringing in an edge rusher that the Raiders or someone else have let go, kind of caught everyone's eye. Whilst he's primarily an edge, Gareth, his reputation's been more of a run stuffer, and I think that's a weakness the 49ers have identified. The Eagles took advantage of that. We obviously signed Hargreave as the main splashy signing to plug that in there. But I agree with Lee. I think we'll see Ferrell as like maybe his first 1 and 2 down player, and then maybe Jackson coming in. But if you've got a reputation coming out of college and then it's took a dive, where better team to come to than the 49ers to repair it? So yeah, I was kind of excited for that. And it also adds that there's a Raiders fan who plays for my flag football team, and he was a little bit gutted to see us pick him up. So that's always good bragging rights when someone else is kind of a bit gutted you've picked a player up. What did you think of it, Gareth?
Yeah, it's our typical sort of signing, isn't it? A guy who's been struggled to perhaps live up to his draft billing, maybe hasn't been deployed in the best way. I think we all know about the issues at the Raiders, and John Gruden used to drive his clown car around the city and pick up random players. So I think he's the typical signing. He's the guy who's going to come in and we're going to make him a better player. Whether we keep him for however long, 1-2 years, we'll get some good service, and I think we'll get some productivity out of him. And then probably move him on and replace him with the next guy in this sort of production line. We seem to have this rehab centre for defensive ends and defensive tackles who've not quite lived up to their billing. So good signing. I think we'll see how that pans out. But I'm sure an off season working with our coaching team and the quality of the players around him is only going to benefit him individually. Oliver. Oh, go on.
I have a question about him, because I think we all kind of wanted to talk about him. What do you think that means for Javon Kinlaw? Do you think there's doom for him? Do you think the team thinks that's it? Because we did sign basically almost starting interior linemen.
I think given the fact that he doesn't see the field too often, I'd be gobsmacked if we take up his 5th year option. I don't think that's happening. Unless he has some sort of stellar season coming up. That's it. I think he is gone.
His 5th year needs to be decided before the 5th of May or something, 1st of May this year, because he's on his 4th year, right?
That's correct, yeah.
So they'll pick it up either now or no, so we can't really wait on see if he has a good season. I agree. I don't think
sorry. So I don't mean he needs to have a good season for us to pick up his 5th year. I don't think we will pick up his 5th year. Right, okay. And then if he doesn't have a stellar season, there's no way we're going to offer him a new contract.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the risk, isn't it? Because if you don't pick it and he has a good season, it'll cost us more money to stay. Or then in that case, he probably won't stay. It'll probably just go. But yeah. What do you think, Kinlaw?
Well, it could be a good problem to have. Look at our good friends at the Giants. Didn't pick up Daniel Jones's 5th year option and then threw a ton of money at him. It's been interesting to see Kinlaw put his workout videos online, and he's clearly trying to show his worth to the team. I wouldn't be surprised, Nadgy, if we trade him, swap for someone else before the trade deadline. I think the writing's on the wall. He hasn't lived up to the billing. I don't think he's been on the field enough. And it's a shame, because we all had high hopes for Kinlaw. I'd love to be sat here this time next year saying, oh my God, why didn't we pick up the 5th year option? He's had a stellar season. But as it stands today, Nadgy, I don't think the team have made the wrong decision. And unfortunately, I think the knee issues he had coming out of college, which we knew about, but we took a gamble. And that's what happens in the draft sometimes. You take these picks, it doesn't sometimes pan out, but a few people get hung up on it. But it's a shame. But I agree. I don't think we're going to pick up his option. I don't think we'll regret it, to be honest.
No, I certainly think that 5th year option is there to be earned, and I don't think he's earned it. And partly due to injury, but partly due to the performances haven't been at the level we would expect of a top end of the draft 1st round pick. So shame, but hopefully that might light a bit more of a fire under him. I don't think attitude has been his problem. It seems to be particularly the knees, or the knee in particular, has held him back. Hopefully, if he comes back with a clean knee, can put in a good season, good players around him, there's still hope for him. But we'll see how that pans out. I was going to say, Isaiah Oliver was a signing that caught my eye. didn't necessarily see it as a huge position of need, but I think we've got a player for 3.5 million a year. Seems to be a bit of an under the radar signing. It seems to be a guy potentially we targeted. It wasn't in that first flurry of free agency, but I think we nabbed him before he'd go to somebody else.
Yeah, it's an interesting signing because essentially it was Dow, Sammy Womack, and no offense to our boy Sammy, putting a starting position, an equal starting position at that on the 5th round player that, while he's played really well, hasn't really shown that much. And the sophomore decline is always something you see in the NFL a second year. So having a little bit of insurance on that, injuries are a thing. I'm not going to teach you that, guys. We've been there. I think having 2 deep at that position is pretty important. And if you can create competition and make one of them better, then I'm all for it. I do hope Sammy Womack steps up and takes the job off him. But it's a good little signing. I think just, again, you need more than 11 on defense to finish a season. So, it's never bad to get bodies and more bodies in that. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought he was brought in purely to replace Emmanuel Mosley, not necessarily as the starter, but to add that quality depth again. As far as the sophomore drop-off is concerned, Diomedor Lenore had the opposite of that. He's had a very similar career path to Sammy Womack. He played well the first 2-3 games of his first season, then he went missing, and then he came back the second season and he's played lights out. Sammy Womack could be exactly the same in that nickel slot position if they do go down that route. But obviously Sammy's quite versatile as well, and he's one of our better special teams players. So I think it's a good sign. I think when you look at our defensive back unit now, I think we're all quite comfortable at what we have. And I think the way that gets better is to have more pressure on the defensive line, which is what we did with the very first sign of free agency. So I think there's a couple of factors there that mean we're going to have a very decent secondary coming up next season.
I agree with you, Gareth. It wasn't a flashy signing. And before we move on, chaps, I think sometimes as fans we get hung up on this. We need all pros at every position. And it's not Madden. We're not the Rams. And I think as soon as Nadgy started talking, I looked at Leaks. I thought, this is Womack's position we're talking about. And I can see those eyes narrowing in. But I'm going to repeat myself again, Lee. I think what Oliver was targeted for, Gareth, was his ability to stop the run and his potential and his experience. And remember, he got that pick against Jimmy for the Falcons at the meet-up. And like you said, it's a solid signing. It's not one of those free agency signings that other teams are bragging about. But I think he is possibly there to push Womack, Lee, and if his experience sees out. But I think Womack needs a big year this year. But equally, we've said it before, you need depth in the NFL. So for me, it was a good signing. And I thought it was underrated, Gareth. So I was quite pleased. I went away, watched some of the tape because I didn't know too much about him. Obviously, the Falcons look like world beaters against us. But I think he's going to come in and do well. So I was quite pleased we picked him up, to be fair.
I think something common, perhaps, between pretty much all the signings. I think Javon Hargrave has obviously been signed as a starter. I think Sam Darnold has clearly been signed as a backup. But I think all the other guys are in the mix to potentially win a starting job, or at worst, be a solid piece of depth. So there seems to be the thread. We're going for that middle, maybe upper middling sort of quality of player, where we think the coaches are looking at them and thinking, okay, I can work with this player. There's something there. I can bring them here and I can make them better than what we've seen. And any of these guys, I could potentially see winning as starting jobs. Maybe not at the beginning of the season, but certainly partway through the season. And at worst, we've got some guys who are just going to fill out the roster. Speaking of which, we should probably go a quick run through the players that we have left, players that have signed elsewhere, or some players it doesn't look like we're going to re-sign. There's quite a list this year. I think we knew there'll be a big turnover, but when you look at it, we have lost Mike McGlinchey, signed with the Broncos. Robbie Gould doesn't appear to be coming back, not signed anywhere as yet, but probably looks to have kicked his last extra point for the Niners. Jimmy G, anyone remember him? Samson Ebukam Charles Menahu, Jimmy Ward, Nadgy, wipe away those tears.
Yes.
Emmanuel Mosley, Daniel Brunskill, Aziz Al-Shire, Hassan Ridgway, Jordan Willis, and Tavarius Moore have all signed with other teams, and all signed, I think, probably at a level where we understand why we had to let them walk. We knew we'd be losing these players. Anyone particularly going to miss? Anyone you think we're going to really struggle to replace?
Yeah, I think Brunskill is really a big loss. Just purely because of the versatility that he brought. We could have plugged him right tackle, right guard, and center, and I think he would have done a decent job. And he has played for us there when we needed it. And it's very hard finding players that are versatile. He's not the best O-line in the league by any stretch, but having somebody competent that can play all three positions is really good in case you have a big injury and you need to fill up. And he's played really well for us, and he's been with us for quite some time now, so it's a bit of a shame to see him go. Good on him. He got a nice little contract, and I mean, he went to a team that is going to be very bad this year, so good luck to him. But yeah, it's the business, isn't it? If you're going to get more money, and we can't really afford that because we've got a contract to sign another player to get. I think it's going to be a bit of a shame we couldn't keep him around, but good luck to him.
Yes, I don't think I can actually identify a player who I think will struggle to replace or will miss. I hear what Nadgy's saying about Brunskill. He did do well, but then again, he did have some games where he absolutely stunk up the place.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think the moves we've made in the draft over the last few years, like bringing in Jalen Moore, Aaron Banks, Colton McKivitz, Nick Zirkel, I think we've got the players there who are ready to slot in, and it's just a case of we've been waiting for the time to see those players play consistently. We had veterans who knew the playbook, who had the chemistry on the line, which is why they were playing. I think once some of these other guys start to play regular, they will be as good, if not better, than what Brunskill was. So I'm not particularly worried. I'm excited to see what we're going to do in the draft now, because when I look at what we've done in free agency, it's now got a similar pattern to what the Patriots have done over the years, and I think we've said this for the last 2 seasons actually. John Lynch is now starting to build a team the same way the Patriots do it, where we get the players that we need in free agency that for the positions that we desperately need. So when it gets to the draft, we can just go best player available. Or if we think, well, maybe one of the position groups is a little bit weak, let's target that position group first, but then just go best player available. Even if that player's a quarterback, let's take a quarterback because he's the best player available.
Yeah.
So it's exciting times. Can't wait to see what we're going to do with these picks.
So many picks.
Well, I'm smiling, Gareth, because unlike you chaps, I haven't had much of a break. I'm well known for jumping on a pod, jumping on a show. And I went on with Mark Adams recently, and his question was, which player did I think we would lose the most? And I had a look through, and like Lee, I'm loving the positivity from Lee, because before Lee's break, he was a little bit doom and gloom, if you remember, about who we were losing. Now, I think Ridgway could be a big one, Gareth. I think he was underrated last year. That was possibly one of our better players. We're well known for rotating those pieces. So I don't think he's irreplaceable, and I'm not going to say that, Lee, but I'm thinking he's going to be a big miss in terms of his production. However, like you've said, the 49ers don't overpay. Remember that last year, Tomlinson, we wanted to keep him. The Jets overpaid, and I don't think he's had a great season. And like you said, Lee, Lynch is building that team. He's building this roster. And like me and Nick have been saying on the Tuesday show for the last few weeks, exciting times to be 49ers. Buckle up for the draft. Like you said, Lee, best position available is what we're going to do. And I'm quite excited. But to answer your question, Gareth, I think Ridgway is going to be a player we may miss. And hopefully I'm proven wrong.
See, now I was actually going to go down that route, Paul, and say either Ridgway or Jordan Willis. But then you look at who we brought in. We brought in Hargrave. We brought in Kalia Davis last year.
Yeah.
He's effectively redshirted his first year. So we've got a rookie defensive tackle there. So
yeah, and Austin Bryant might be an amazing player as well. He was very good in 21, so, you know. It's one of those.
Like I said,
Yeah.
I want to be proven wrong, smile on my face, bit of a difference of opinion, but equally, first show of the new season, so it's always good to have these conversations, chaps.
I mean, there's not perhaps so much that we'll miss them because we're well covered, but certainly I think it's a shame to see Emmanuel Mosley go. Good to see he's been picked up and got a payday. You know, he was a starter. He would have been starter all through the season if he hadn't had that injury, and perhaps he may have well played himself into a bigger contract. And it's sad to see Al Shire go. Didn't have much last season because obviously Greenlaw was so good, but if touch wood, as long as we don't lose Warner or Greenlaw, it was always nice thinking you could bring Al Shire on if any of those guys need to sit out for a few games. And I think he's gone to Tennessee for $5 million, and I think they've got an absolute bargain. Personally, I think he's worth fairly close to twice that. I think he's probably worth 8 or 9, given from what I'd seen of him. So those are guys that I think I'm perhaps personally going to miss more maybe than the team will in terms of the players we've got. But those were a couple of guys I was sad to see go.
It would be a miss not to mention Gold. Obviously, he's been absolutely incredible for the time he was with us, and I mean, it doesn't mean he's not going to come back. The fact that we picked up Gonzalez, it looks unlikely, but he has been clinical, and we all remember when he was injured and we had to get somebody else what it did to us. And we might be entering, that might be the only position where we're really not quite sure, especially that Zane Gonzalez didn't play last year because he was injured. So, kicker is one of those where, not sure. In the draft, maybe, eh?
I didn't mention Robbie because Gonzalez's contract's not guaranteed, Nadgy, and I think Robbie wants too much money. And you're right, I think it's one of those, I don't think Gonzalez is definitely the man. Jake Moody has been well talked about on the draft boards. And if you look around the league, not many teams need a kicker. So he might fall to us. But Gonzalez is a strange one when you look at, like you say, he was injured last year.
I've still got hopes that we resign Gold. He's probably waiting. And we don't need to sign him until August. It's not like he needs to be physically prepared, is it?
Kickers are people, Nadgy. No kicker hair on this show.
No, I'm not saying, but it's definitely not Nick Bosa or in terms of physical ability and preparation, or any of our QBs. But it wouldn't surprise me if we resign him, in OTAs or after that. So when we've seen what Zane Gonzalez can do, hopefully maybe he stinks the place and we just give Robbie a bit more money and then he'll just come and do one more season for us.
I think it's once again it's good that we can go into the draft without any gaping holes in the roster. Even at kicker, there's someone in the building. You've got something at least. I think it just puts you in a lot better position than suddenly having a desperate need and be scrabbling around or possibly missing out that player or overdrafting them and thinking we need that kicker and suddenly it's too high of a draft pick that we've spent on a guy who probably may not be worth it. We have re-signed a few familiar faces. Jake Brendel, I think that was early on, and a few of the depth pieces. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, Ross Dwelly, T.Y. McGill. Good to see him back. I think there's a few more. That was all I picked up off the list, but I think we may well have re-signed a few practice players.
Givens, Mike Kivitz,
Givens,
Table Pepper, obviously, very early on, and Jawan Jennings. We signed on a 1-year deal.
Happy to see these guys back?
Yeah, very.
Yes.
Brendel, Jennings, very happy to see those guys back. Core pieces, especially, Jennings, Brendel, I think starters and part of the party, aren't they? So we want them to be there again when we have another crack at it. Very good re-signing. Not overpaying, I think, all those players kind of know that they're probably best with us. They might get a 1-year deal somewhere else, but if you want to go and sign with the Titans, no offense, Arshaya, but again, I think that season is void almost because the Titans are going to stink, and then you just disappear into the abyss of the forgotten players. It's good to be on a good team that wins. At least you're on TV more often and you're seen more often. So It's one of those.
Then again, being a top player on a team that stinks can make you look even better, maybe. So
That's true. But losing isn't fun. I don't think any of those players want to lose at all. So yeah,
Kind of surprised we re-signed Brendel because he had quite a good season, Gareth, and I think, like you said, Nadgy, he could have got paid more elsewhere.
I
and
think so.
The fact that he's
wasn't he
returning-
offered more money?
Yeah, he was offered more money and he's decided to come back to us, which for a second
what I
season,
mean.
you know,
Who knows?
centre's underrated. And the fact that he's only 31 for a centre isn't particularly old. And I think the hope is he can still improve. So but I'm not sure who offered him more money. Someone better educated than he might
Jets,
know.
I think.
Was
Other than
I was
maybe-
a bit surprised. Yeah,
Maybe I always just think the Jets. So
31 is really young for our line. They tend to get much better at around that age. The progression is really slow at first, and then they kind of get really good around 30, 32. So good time to keep him, I think.
So, since it's the Niners and it's the off-season, we probably need to talk about quarterbacks. Sam Darnold's been added. Purdy is a month into his recovery, and Trey Lance is throwing a ball around with Patrick Mahomes. It's that quiet time, and I keep hearing little bits of rumbling about, we're trying to make a quarterback controversy, where certainly for me, I think it's really pretty clear-cut. How are you guys looking at it? We've got 3 potentially very talented players, or 2 and Sam Darnold, but I've been a bit harsh on him there, but maybe not very talented. How do you think it's going to go? Paul, kick us off.
Well, you clearly haven't been on Twitter, Gareth. That's all I'm going to say, because everything Trey Lance does is micromanaged. It's spanned. There's, talk about him, like you said, training with Mahomes. There was a couple of
even his
footage
haircut.
of his throws. Yeah, his haircut. I mean, there was a lot of controversy, Gareth, about Lynch and Shanahan saying that Darnold will get reps in OTAs, and there was this big uproar. Does that mean a 50-50 split? And it was like, listen to what they're saying. An 80-20 split. Of course, Darnold's going to get reps at OTAs. They haven't brought him in not to get any. And I don't think there's a controversy at the moment. I think the Niners are a fan base and a team. We're plugged into our team. We're all on social media. We're constantly looking for the updates. I don't think any other team in the NFL is plugged in like we are. And you look at all the content creators and they're doing shows about it. So for me, I still think it's Trey Lance QB1, Darnold QB2, purely because Purdy's injured. And then Purdy will go on the pup list for first 4 weeks. Trey will ball out. Brock will come back and take over. We'll go 17-0. We'll win the Super Bowl. There you go.
What's this pessimism here? You don't believe in Brock. How dare you?
I've just said he's going to come back. He's going to come back. He's going to take over.
He'll start week 1 and win 17
Yeah, I think he will as well.
I think he's on the pup list first 4 weeks.
I don't think so.
I think he'll
he'll
win
be
20
back.
games, Nadgy.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you.
We'll be getting the Brasso out.
I think Brock will be back mid-July and he'll be ready because the surgery went really, really well, and he's already a month into it. He's already working out. He's already doing things. And for people that have pulled their hair because we signed Sam Darnold, I have one question for you: do you rather have Sam Darnold in the NFC Championship last year or Josh Johnson? It's a very easy question to answer. And I think John and Kyle do not want to be in that position ever again. And I think Kyle was always trying to keep 3 QBs on a roster back in the day. And I think the post-COVID, it was a lot harder to do because of rule change and adding an extra player on O-line and all that to the 53 made that it was kind of difficult to do. But we're going to roll with 3 purely because I think the track record says you lose 1 QB, then you still have 2, and then that means even your scout rep still have a decent value to them. They're not just scout rep with a coach throwing the ball for no reason. Because it's really important to have 2 guys that compete all the time and push other people, and that your defense can go against a good QB because that makes them better. So I have no problem having Sam Darnold in, and if it turns out that Brock isn't ready and Trey injured himself again, God forbid, at least I believe Sam can play well in this system. We know it's QB friendly, and he's a first round pick. He went number 2 overall. There's reasons for that. He's probably not as good as he should have been, but can he run this offense? I absolutely believe so. So I'm excited. And it's going to be an amazing camp battle to see those three guys playing, and because Sam Darnold's going to go at it, because he might, try and get number 2 or number 1. You never know. So it's going to make all three of them better, and I can't wait. And I'm happy to see Lance training with one of the best QB I've ever seen play. What's bad about that? It's great.
I think
if you
people
can learn.
panicked, Nadgy,
Yeah.
because we picked Darnold up quite early in free agency.
Well, 'cause he's
Shanahan's
cheap, right?
on record for saying he's liked him. And with the 49ers, and it's a quarterback position.
Yeah, of course.
Like you said, I'm happy to see Trey Lance training with Mahomes.
Yeah,
I didn't
it's amazing.
digest the video as much as others did, Gareth, but there's a throw of Trey, and I've seen every slow
it's
motion
beautiful.
angle. I've seen every photograph. I've seen the dynamics. But Ty Alston, who was a good friend of the show, he put a parody out of Trey Lance sat down drinking some water, and he said, if you look at how he was sat last year, his hip movement's better. And it was hilarious. It just made me laugh, because you could overanalyze it at the end of the day, where March, April, the fact that we're putting our roster together. But I think people panic, Nadgy, because Darnold was signed in quite early, and non-49ers fans are using it as a stick to beat us. But I'm just smiling, and like you said, Nadgy, we'll see you smiling when we've got that brasso out, as Lee said. And whichever one of the 4, 5, 6, 7 QBs we have, I don't care at this point. I just want us to win.
Yeah. Go on, Lee. What do you think? QBs.
Well,
You're with me on Brock, right?
I'm
it'll be
with you
back,
on
right?
Brock, but I think Paul's just made a very good point, which I was just going to bring up there. We're going to have the best quarterback room in the whole NFL. We're going to have Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Kirk Cousins.
And Kirk Cousins, yeah. And
And
Jimmy G
Lamar.
sometimes.
And
And
Lamar
Lamar,
Jackson.
Yeah, we're going to be absolutely stacked at the quarterback position. It's going to be ridiculous. I think you're right, Nadgy. I think we all know it's Brock's position to lose, because he played so well at the end of last season. Yeah, and I think Trey will get a chance, but I think that chance will be in camp. He's going to have to show some sort of progression. I still think Trey Lance can be an absolutely phenomenal player.
I think he'll
It's just
play.
like he needs the reps, and I don't think he'll be able to get them for us. As long as Brock Purdy's fit, healthy, I don't think he'll get the reps for us. And I don't think he can do enough in practice to unseat Brock Purdy. So that's the only concern. And because of that, and I'm sure both John and Kyle are thinking along the same lines, if they're not going to be able to give him the opportunity, and somebody does come in before the draft and chucks a couple of second rounders at us, because to be honest, I don't think we'll get a first round for him anymore.
No, I don't think so either. But I don't see why they would.
No, because at the moment we've got nothing to lose by keeping him. But
Exactly. If we go back a year in the past and we see how we handled the Jimmy G situation with the Trey Lance arriving,
yeah,
we could have dealt him, we could have released him, we could have probably traded him. I'm sure we had offers. There's no way we didn't have offers for him, right? And the fact that we kept him, and the fact that we got proven right by keeping him, and he started playing well, and they didn't cost us anything, and he kept our season on tracks and allowed us to get to the NFC Championship. I don't see why we would do not that again. But obviously now the situation is Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. Keep him, and I'm sure Carroll is, because he was so excited about running plays for him. There is a world where they both have reps during a game, and sometimes you got the Trey Lance package, and the defense doesn't know what the hell's going on because they haven't prepared for that, and there's not enough tape about it, and it's really hard to defend. And then you become this team that just can throw anything at you, with the clinical Brock Purdy or the super athletic Trey Lance all of a sudden, and you just don't know what to do. So it wouldn't surprise me if they both play some part with Brock starting, but why not give you the option?
Yeah, this is going to be a bit controversial, but do you think because Brock Purdy and Trey Lance's skill sets are more closely aligned than what Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance's skill sets were, he will potentially go back to using 2 quarterback sets during the games?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Because he won't have to expand the playbook as much as what he had to for Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, because Brock Purdy can scramble, and that's what the Eagles were worried about. Jimmy couldn't. He could move around a little bit. He could gain the yards, but ever since he had his knee injury, he was nowhere near as mobile. You could just see it. It wasn't just the fact that he wasn't anywhere near as mobile. The confidence was shot. It was all gone. He didn't want to get injured again. Whereas Brock showed no fear whatsoever. Trey Lance has the legs to do exactly the same thing. Potentially, it could be the one playbook that either one of those quarterbacks can operate under. And because of the way that Trey Lance runs and the speed opposed to Brock Purdy, they could just use one type of play for Trey, another for Brock. But either one of them could run it, and it'll keep the defense guessing what they're trying to do.
Absolutely. I could see that happening. You have the option. Even just the fact that he's on your roster, maybe some defense would have to, just in case we need to spend a bit of time, which means you don't spend time doing something else. I think it's all mind games. It's all good, and I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Yeah, and I mean, if you put Trey Lance under centre, if you're going through a game, Brock Purdy's starting, I don't know, midway through the second quarter, you bring Brock Purdy off, you put Trey Lance on. If you're a defensive coordinator, what's the first thing you would think of? Because the first thing I would think of, see, that's not what I would think of. The first thing I would think of is a deep ball, because Trey Lance definitely has a better arm than Brock Purdy. Yeah, I mean, we've seen that. So some of the deep balls we've seen him throw have been absolutely beautiful. It's been like football porn, watching these deep balls. And to me, that's the first thing that I would think of. This is going to be a deep ball. And if you couple that, bringing Trey Lance under centre and sticking Ray McLeod or Danny Gray out wide.
Yeah, you go speed packet.
Then, exactly. You've got somebody fast on the outside. You've got Trey Lance who can throw 70, 80 yards without breaking a sweat. Is that what they're going for? Because then you've got your safeties backing off to try and protect against that. And then you just run the play anyway, and you run down the middle with Trey Lance.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. I think if I was defensive coordinator, I'd see Trey Lance, I think, run first, but then he just bombs it behind you. Yeah, that's the beauty of having him, and I think that's what makes him such an interesting prospect. And I just kind of want to see him play, because we haven't had the chance really to see him blossom as a player, and it did cost us three first round. So, it'd be nice if he's good. Even if he plays a little bit and then somebody gives us big something for him, then at least we'd feel good about the decision we made. But
see, I'm smiling, Nadgy. Sorry, Gareth, but Lee snuck in a little throw about Brock Purdy in the preview show, and everyone was like, Brock Purdy throwing the Super Bowl winning touchdown. First episode of the new season, Lee's already started the QB controversy that we're going to be going 2 package QBs. We're going viral, chaps, because once the content creators get hold of this, they're going to be 2 QBs. My God, what are you chaps talking about?
We're back, baby.
I could see Shanahan coming up with some specific scripted plays for 2 QBs in the red zone. Yeah. I think what he said last year after the kind of swapping in and out of Jimmy and Trey, he said it threw his rhythm all the way off. I think he's learned from that. I don't think we're going to see that at all. I think we could see the odd red zone sort of semi-trick play, that sort of thing, something where we need something different. I could see something like that. I still think that's quite difficult for a quarterback to come in cold, do one play, and then come out of the game again for another 2 quarters. And while there's a big part of me that thinks we shouldn't rush Brock back. I think we know he can clearly run the offense. He kind of doesn't. He's almost like a veteran. He kind of doesn't necessarily need that off season. I don't know that he'll see a lot of action in the preseason games, and I think there's still a case to be a little bit cautious about bringing him in when he's fully match fit. And the plus side of that is personally, if that's how it works out, I would love to see Trey get 3 or 4 games at the beginning of the season, because Purdy has set a standard, and we still don't know what Trey is or what he can do, and no one else around the league kind of knows what he's worth if we're talking about trading for him. I'd love to see him get 3 or 4 games, and he knows he's either got to exceed Brock, and we're saying Purdy who? Trey's the man, or he knows that Purdy is going to slot in and the team is going to carry on and reach a certain standard. So there's no way to put Brock's injury as a positive light, but I hope that we could get something out of it And what I hope to get out of it is that we do get a chance to see Trey, because he's just still that unknown quality. And it sounds harsh, but it's only 17 games. He gets 3, 4 at the beginning. If he can't reach the Purdy standard after 3 or 4 games, then it's Purdy's team. And I think that would finally settle it. That you would, at the moment, we can't really settle it because we still don't know what Trey could potentially do with a run of games, because we just haven't seen it. So part of me thinks give him that at the beginning of the season, because even if he does badly, the season's not over by week 4. And maybe that's, as Paul said, keep Brock, make sure we don't have to rush him. We don't want to set him back at all. He's not going to get those preseason games. He's going to have a little bit of rust. The best way to deal with that, I think, is have Trey and maybe Darnold in those first few games. If Trey absolutely stinks, there's Darnold. Maybe if Trey's got games won by the third quarter, we get to see a quarter of Darnold. Just quickly on Darnold, I think that's a good signing. I think obviously what he's produced on the pitch kind of speaks for itself, the struggles he's had. But remember, he played for like Adam Gase at the Jets at 21 as a rookie. It's not a great place to be starting. But the couple of things that struck me about Darnold is, for all of the flack that he's had, for all of the grief and all of the poor teams, he's the quarterback. He's shouldered it. I've never heard him call out his players or coaches for not supporting him. And let's face it, at the Jets, he had a pretty terrible team around him. There's a mental strength and a resilience that I think he's shown for a young guy early in his career who's taken a lot of bad flack. And some of it's been deserved, the performances haven't been there. But I think there's an attitude and character there that, with a better team around him, with McCaffrey, Trent Williams watching his back, Ayuk running deep, Debo running across the middle, that's not a situation we've seen Darnold with before. So I don't know where he goes from our team, really, but there is potentially a longer-term backup job behind somebody available there. So I think that's a good signing, and I think people forget that there's actually, we take for granted some things about what quarterbacks do, and it's all about producing on the field, which it is. But there's a lot of other stuff. There's the locker room, there's the attitude, and there's your character and your resilience. And I think Darnold has shown that he's pretty good at all of those. So I think there's something.
He's only 25.
Exactly.
It's crazy. He's only been in the league 5 years. Yeah.
So should we move on to the draft? While we have no picks in the first 2 rounds, the front office are certainly milking the compensation formula, giving the Niners a total of 11 picks, including 3 well-deserved at the end of the 3rd round for the minority hires, which the Niners have done well, and great to see those good coaches and front office staff go and get the money and the kudos with other teams. I think we'll cover the draft, I think, in a lot more detail on probably the next show. Lee's touched on it, but I was just going to talk about how we might approach the draft with this many picks. Is it just going to be a complete restock on best available, or do you think we're going to move around the board a bit?
Well, I think we'll go D-line first, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
It's quite simple, really. But no, I think, just as Lee said, I think we're in such a position that we can leverage whatever we want. We might have fallen in love with some of the players during the combine and the whole draft process. And maybe we'll just target those and use some of the other picks that we have, because 11 is quite a lot, to make sure that we do get those guys that have the right attitude, because I think that's actually pretty important, and maybe even more important than their ability, because I think the Niners believe in their coaching staff and the scheme and all that more than anything else. So, getting guys like John Jennings, and when we draft them, we're like, who's this guy and why we drafted him? And then turns out, he fits the scheme really well and fits the culture really well. And I think maybe we'll go for that. It's really hard to say unless we know exactly what their ball looks like. But best available is always the best, isn't it? You just sit down and we'll get this guy because he's the best on our board, and we don't have to worry about it. We don't need to trade. We don't need to do anything. And we're also in a position to be listening to trades, because we do have quite a lot of those 3rd round at the end, and maybe somebody wants to jump back into the 3rd and get somebody that they really want, and we get maybe we can get players from their roster or offload some of the stuff. So yeah, we're in such a good position. This is perfect draft. You must be quite relaxed in a war room, as they call it. But yeah, it's perfect. Now to try and decipher what we're gonna do, I have no idea. I wish I was a scout and flying a wall in there and listen, but I have no idea where we're gonna go. We'll see.
Am I okay making a bold prediction?
Yeah, go for it.
Of course,
That's what we do, right?
First of the season.
Well, you said 20-0 already, so that's second.
This is
that's
quite
not bold.
ballsy. This is quite ballsy. So for everything I've always said about what John Lynch is doing and basically what he's told us what he's doing, it's just a case of you listen to him and then you know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Looking at next year's free agents, I think the first 3 picks could potentially be defensive line, linebacker, tight end.
Yeah, it's possible.
Based on what next year's free agents are going to be.
Is Josh Kittle free agent next year?
No, not George Kittle, but the other tight ends on the roster are.
Right.
We've got 2 of our linebackers both going, and I think that is one area where we could be short this year.
You guys forgot McCrary Ball. You remember preseason?
So yeah. So I didn't forget him. Right. I didn't forget him because Nick Ludlam met him over in Santa Clara. So I know we had him.
I'm looking forward to him.
I think next season, I think potentially we'll only go into the off season with 3 linebackers on the roster. So I think linebacker will be a priority this year, as well as defensive line and tight end.
See, you can tell you've done your homework, Al Presidente, because the 49ers have
done
met
absolutely none.
Well, I was going to say, they've met with every tight end available in the draft. So Steph Sanchez has got a spreadsheet, Nadgy, on her Twitter account, and you click on it, and it's every player the Niners have met, and it's quite impressive. So obviously, and Nicholas McGee, who's a good friend of the show, he's done a really good article, Lee, on Niners Nation. If you're not following Nicholas on Twitter, that's who I'm following. So he's a UK-based journalist. His knowledge is second to none. And he's taken the approach, Gareth, of the waiting game, like Lee said, the fact that we haven't got a glaring hole. And the great thing with a draft is when the dominoes fall, like we've seen Nadgy, so if a team jumps up or if there's a player on your board. And I think we're going into this draft kind of with that mentality that we'll just see what happens. We have our board. And the Niners have been known. I mean, they're not as bold as Belichick taking that lineman in the first round last year just because he liked him and he didn't care where he took him. But equally, some people do get hung up on the draft position. But personally, for me, I've struggled to get into the draft this year because I know we're not picking at the moment until the third round, and PFF are charging for the mock draft. So Tracy was like, you can get off that site now, Paul. Let Lee do all them.
Thanks, PFF. Do you want to sponsor the show?
But no, I think you're right, Lee, to look ahead. And the Niners have always shown that's what we do. We kind of always have an eye on next year. And I'm excited. This time last year, Gareth, all 4 of us said, we haven't got any glaring holes. We won't use all our picks. We used all our picks and we took about 20 undrafted free agents. So the Niners just, who knows at this point of the season, mate.
I think I can see us perhaps moving up maybe for a player. I can see if there's somebody potentially, even a guy we maybe have had pegged as a late first round pick, and he kind of falls towards the middle of the second. I could see that being a bit of a temptation if the team feels that he's going to be a real game changer. I think we've got our big playmakers. We don't need to hit an absolute home run on a player, mixing my sporting metaphors there. But I also think, particularly in the later rounds, we've got the luxury that we can pick some guys that may well be high ceiling, low floor. And if they don't work out, it doesn't matter. We've got plenty of compensation picks. But if they do work out, wow, that kind of player. So I could see us going for that. I wouldn't be surprised if it depends how Danny Gray is going on into his second year. But I could see us picking a wide receiver in the third round. That's my prediction. I could see them maybe.
It's going to be Michael Wilson from Stanford.
Yeah.
Jonathan Mingo could be one I think might surprise you, Lee. I know you want that boy from Stanford, but
No, it's a good point because obviously Debo's resigned. We do need to resign. I think Brandon Ayuk is going to get a new contract. There's no way, but I think it's going to get increasingly more difficult to keep Jawan Jennings around, and he's not going to keep signing his 1 year deal. I think at some point he's going to want a bigger contract, a bigger, longer contract, which he can't be. Whatever his status was this year, essential
He was
right free agent.
exclusive.
Exclusive
right
this
year. So next year, I think
RFA.
you drop the level, don't you? So
yeah, so it'll be fully unrestricted free agent next year. So he's probably going to shop around, isn't it? So yeah, there's plenty of position that we could add. Linebacker is one, definitely. Although we don't need that many. And then D-line, because that's what we do. And then, safety, I think, is something we need to target because Tashan Gibson signed 1 year. He's probably going to retire after this one. So we need to replace that as well. So, all these positions are, we can look into the future. It's so good. We can get these guys now. Or we might even have them on a roster. What's that guy from Penn State that we drafted last year? Can't remember his name now. He might play safety next year. It was a corner from Penn State. What was his name? It was in the 6th round or 5th round.
Castro Fields?
That's the one, Castro Fields.
Is he still on the team? I thought he'd gone.
I thought he'd gone as well, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I don't think he made the roster cut at the end of the year.
Oh, did he not? Yeah.
Unless he's on the practice squad.
On practice squad, yeah. But that's what I mean. These kind of guys that we see the names once and then they might stash them and then resurface in a year or two time and they'll be starters are amazing. Yeah, it's good. I think this is where you want to be. You don't want to be picking 1 or 2 or 3 in a draft. It's exciting because you're a brand new, excellent player, but where we are, I think, is the best way to go. And we got some people that are going to enjoy that live, aren't we?
Yeah, we certainly do. So we once again, the 49ers for UK were offered between 2 and 4 tickets for the invite to the draft. 2 definitely confirmed. Potentially we're going to get 4. So we've got a couple going out on the 26th of April, I believe. Luke Jones and... Let me quickly look at Claire's surname. Claire's surname is Blake. Don't need to open up my phone. So Luke Jones and Claire Blake's going out. And potentially also Lisa and Ryan Lawrence, who are based over in Chicago. Lisa lived in the UK for quite some time and has been a member of the group for as long as I can remember. So hopefully if Nick can get us those 2 extra tickets, they'll be at the draft as well. So the good thing about this is obviously it's the same sort of setup as what me and Nadgy had last year. It's invite only. You can't buy these tickets. You've got tickets at the side which cost something ridiculous like $2,500.
Yeah.
And they're not as good as the seats that me and Nadgy had. Obviously we were at the front because it was the turn for the NFC West 4 teams to be at the front, so we were there. I think these will be further back, but it's still an absolutely cracking view. Smack bang in the middle of the stage, and they're going to get a really good time. They're going to have tickets for both days 1 and 2, and I wouldn't be at all surprised at the end of day 2 if Nick comes along and asks them if they want to come back for day 3. So it should be a good time for them. It's a wonderful experience. Obviously they'll be repping the 49er Field for UK while they're out there. And if Jeff's going out there, I'll make sure to let Jeff Reinball know that these guys are going to be out there, and maybe they get interviewed by Jeff. Yeah,
and Luke and Claire, I don't know if you listen to the show, but if you do, don't hesitate to hit me. I'm sure Lee's agreed to. If you have any question about how it goes and how long it is and what you can do, tips and tricks to enjoy it better. Because obviously we went in a bit blind, didn't we? And especially day 3 was a bit of a slog. Wish I'd packed a lunch. But don't hesitate to hit us, or even just on a group, and then we'll answer there for everybody to see. I'm happy to share the experience. Amazing experience. I'm good to that. I can't go. I'm going to be honest, but far too busy for that. You're going to enjoy it. It's amazing, and you're going to meet other 49ers minded people that you'll be around and make some connection for life probably and talk to. It's going to be amazing, and the food's going to be great, I'm sure, in Kansas. Yeah. Thank you, Nick, again for the opportunity and including the UK to all this. It's so cool. Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
as you were on holiday, Lee, when you dropped the news, sorry, Gareth, we have to get this plug in. We advertised it on the live, Lee. Now, as we were recording Nadgy, I was very impressed that Nadgy was like, if you go in, there's some rules you need to adhere to. And one of them was something to do with alcohol. Brett Sinclair immediately ruled himself out, Lee, when he saw Nadji's caveat that you had to be sensible with the alcohol. So, Brett, I know you listen, you're a big fan of the show.
Well, no,
I think Nadji was joking, but it did make me chuckle when...
I wasn't joking really. It's just more of a buyer beware kind of thing. But you are representing us as a group. So if you are going to get absolutely wasted at 10 a.m. and make a fool of yourself on national television, that's not necessarily what we're looking for.
Exactly.
But I mean, Lee and I had a few beers when we were there. You can absolutely loosen up and enjoy yourself. I'm just saying, you're representing a lot of people. There's how many people we have in this group? 3,000, 2,500, 3,000?
3,000.
3,000. So you're representing 3,000. And it's 4 of you, four of you. Just don't be an idiot. That's the number one rule of everything. Don't be an idiot.
To be fair, let's face it, Nadgy. They're not going to be able to afford more than a couple of drinks.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it was incredibly expensive. It was like
I wonder if it'll be
$30
cheaper,
for
though.
2 drinks.
Yeah, I wonder if it'll be cheaper because we were in Vegas.
Because it's Kansas instead of Vegas.
Yeah.
Possibly.
So it might be,
Possibly.
different taxes and all that. So
Brett knows
I don't know.
joking,
Might be more expensive.
But to be fair, Nadji, I was impressed that you were kind of stepping up because, like you said, it needed to be said. But I was just joking because we all know Brett. We all know he's a character. But it was just funny, Lee, that the comment popped up on the live and he was like, "Sorry, lads, I can't go." And I thought it just shows the community spirit. Before we move on, Gareth, Tracy saw the email from Lee. She saw the date of April the 29th and she was like, that is Kaylee's 16th birthday. I was like, don't worry. I know I'm not going over. So it is good that we have got
Kansas.
people going.
Yeah.
Great to see the UK faithful back at the draft. A lucky charm for last year, particularly at the back end of the draft. So fingers crossed for the same. So while the NFL...
Sorry. Well, I was just saying what happened to Lima happened to somebody else. You never know.
Bang, bang,
They might be able to draft that tight end.
Zaki.
Zaki K.
Zach Cuts. Pronounced without the N.
Yeah, that's right. God, that would be amazing.
So that's a good point to move on. While the NFL has finished, the UK leagues are just starting up. And that includes our very own Nadgy New Helmet Corral at the Chester and Flintshire Romans. Are you ready for the pain, Nadgy?
Yes. I broke my finger at practice on Sunday. So, that's football for you. It's fine. I'll play on it. Don't matter. Let's talk about Bafa first before I show you my little sponsorship. But yeah, the Romans are starting. We're playing in Birmingham on the 23rd. I think that's our first game against the Lions. I think they call the Lions. I can't remember. Stallions? Don't matter. I will beat them. So Bafa starting. I did make a call to get involved in January if you wanted to play. You can still get involved even though if you don't want to play. I always reiterate this, but chain crew, we always need ball people just to be around the team and help with setting up the field and all that kind of thing. If football is a passion of you and you enjoy it and you want to do it locally for people, obviously not quite the same level as the NFL. Close, but not close. Yeah, very close, very close. Get involved. Go on the Bafa website. You can find where the closest team to you. It might be one right around the corner. And go even if you just go down and watch the game and support your local team. It's fun. It's super good to watch football. Waiting for the season, but yeah, it's starting. I think it started last weekend. So get involved. This game pretty much every weekend around the country. This is for contact, and obviously Paul, you're doing flag, and it's the same, isn't it? It's a little different flag. It's tournaments, isn't it? You say it because I have no idea.
Well, before I plug flag, Gareth, Nadji's doing himself a disservice. So the Discord that you push, Nadgy, there is a Britball column in the Discord. So that has been fairly active. And like you've said, Nadgy, even if you want to go down and support your local team,
just watch the game.
I've seen it started last week. So lad who plays for our flag team, he had his first game. But my flag, Gareth, what happens is you go to a game day and you play 3 games in one day because of the distance. So me and Connor Ryan had our first taste 2 weeks ago. We lost our first game 27-0 to an ex-Premier League team. So it was a rude awakening. But we won the second game 40-19. 2 touchdowns from your boy, Mr. Ho. I have to get that plug in there. So I won Offensive Player of the Week, Nadgy. I knew you'd be proud.
Get him on your fancy team.
So
get Paul on your fancy team.
Yeah, I'm up in Renfrewshire this Saturday, 5 a.m. start. I've got 3 games. So the BAFA League's in full swing. And I think the Lions women's team have got a game this weekend against Sweden. So Phoebe Schechter, who's a big fan of the group, follow her on social media. She's got all the details on there. But if you want to go watch the GB Lions, they're playing this weekend. But Nadgy, come on. We need to see.
Show us your
We're all
helmet.
waiting.
Yeah, so I've been playing this game for quite some time now, and my helmet, for people that don't know, they have a little sticker there that says the date it was built, and they're only valid for 10 years. So I need a new one. So I got this, and I have to thank Nerion Athletics, who really sorted me out. It's a company down in Spain. They're based around Madrid. And Javier has been absolutely amazing and super nice to sorting me that out. It's a new Shadow XR. I don't think many people have it. It's got this cool new technology in there, and it's really, really comfortable. So thank you very much, Javier. But yeah, if you need anything, it's just an American football. I think they do lacrosse as well stuff. So just go have a look. If you need gloves, jersey, trousers, pads, whether you play flag or not, and you need something, just go and check them out. Obviously, it's all in euros, but it's a little bit cheaper than anything you can find in the UK. And as I said, Ravia has been absolutely amazing. He put that in a package saying it was goods and a gift, so I didn't pay tax when you got to the UK, thanks to Brexit. But yeah, so I didn't pay extra tax. So just go and talk to him. You can talk to him on WhatsApp, and it'll help you find out what you need. And if you want to mention my name, that's cool. Yeah, just go and check him out. Super nice guys. And if you need anything, you'll probably find it there. But yeah, that's a little plug there.
Okay, so I've got a noob question for you then, because obviously I've never played the game. I've never had to buy a helmet or anything like that.
Sure.
Did you have to have some sort of fitting?
So there's general sizes. So there's small, medium, large, extra large. I think they do. So if you want a helmet, the best thing is to go and try them. So there is a few shop in the UK.
So is that one extra large?
This one's large. I've a large head, not extra large, despite all of this. Yeah.
Extra padding.
But you can go on the website. The most common one is Riddle. I don't know how you pronounce it exactly. Shirt is the other one, and then Zenith is this one that look really cool. There's also devices you can buy. You know, the City one, Josh Kittle and Boss have. Those ones are a little bit expensive, £1,300. Anyway, you can go on there, measure your head, and it'll tell you roughly where you need to be, and then you can adjust it to your size without trying. I will highly recommend trying, though. So if you go down to a club, just ask around. People will have different things, mostly Riddell and shirt. Just, is this a large? Can I just try it on for 2 seconds? Just put it on, see how it feels, and then you know what to buy, because they are pretty pricey. So yeah, that's the way to do it.
Am I right in thinking, Nadgy, colour-wise, you can always get them wrapped? Because the lad who plays
you can,
team, he's moved teams, and he says, don't worry about the team colours, you can get them wrapped.
I mean, ideally, it's better to buy what you can. You know, if your team plays in a weird green, you might not find it. But you can get the lid wrapped. You can also paint it yourself, car paint or whatever. You can do that fairly easily. And the face cage is the same. You can paint it yourself. It's just that you have to kind of redo it every year because obviously it's not designed for it. But yeah, the wrapping is amazing. You can send that. I think it costs like 20 or 30 quid to get it the right color. And the logo, the team will give that to you when you join usually. So yeah, don't worry too much about the color. If you can't buy your color, maybe go white because it's easier to paint. Instead of black, it's harder to put some paint on there. It'll show darker, I guess. It's better prime white. But yeah, don't worry about it. Just buy it. If you want to play... I was going to say, if you're just starting to play, don't go and buy a helmet. The team you'll play for should have a few that will last you a few months. Just dip your toes in, make sure the sport's for you. It's very expensive. This was upwards of 450 pounds. And shoulder pads are like 100, 200 quid. Don't go and splash out unless you can afford it, of course. You do whatever you want, but it's an investment. Go and play for a bit, borrow stuff, and when you're sure you want to carry on doing it, then invest and get your own, and it'll last you for 10 years. So, it's about £45 a year to protect my head. It's not bad.
What we did last year, Gareth, is anybody playing, if you hit me up, I'll tweet out the links from the 49ers for UK, local games in your area, results, footage. Cheeky shout out, James Evans and Chris Leo Wayne and Gary Thorpe are all brand new flag players this year, playing for the different teams. Nick Ludlam is the most decorated flag player. His team got the finals last year, so I've got to give him a cheeky plug out there. So I know Nick and his team are primed for another run at the playoffs, Gareth. But I fell in love with the game, and like Nadgy said, if you can't play contact, if you like me to old and injury prone, go give flag a go, because I've absolutely fallen in love with the game, and it helps you understand the route running and what the players do. And sometimes on this pod, when Nadgy says I play the game, and I used to think, I wonder what it'd be like to play the game. I have a little taste of that now. I'm not on Nadgy Carrar's level yet, but I'm slowly getting there, lads. I'm slowly getting there.
Last little thing is, if you can't do any of those things, but maybe you've got kids, they can play flag until they're 14, I think, and then they can start playing contact. So if your kids are into it, and that goes for both genders, all of the genders, just go and try and find a team close to you, and maybe that's better than soccer. Everybody seems to be doing around here. Don't know what it's about. So go put your kids play football. They make more money. Come on.
Great stuff. Great to see so many people involved in the game in the UK. I think we're towards the end. A couple of quick shout outs I think worth mentioning. A couple of little bits of snippets of news. Two from the team. Congratulations, I think, from all the UK faithful to Christian McCaffrey, who got engaged this week.
Oh, yeah.
So, congratulations. Good luck to him and his lovely missus, or missus to be. Also, very good news, slightly different tack, is that Mooney Ward's little baby had heart surgery this week, but is apparently recovering well. So, I think all our best wishes from the UK over to Mooney Ward and his family. Great to see that's got a positive result. And finally, a little bit of a belated happy birthday to the UK faithful's one and only Brian Davis, who kept Lee in check on seasons 1 and 2 of the show. So I think we're all forever
partners
grateful.
In misery.
Partners in misery. I remember those shows well, and I must say I miss Brian being on the pod. He was a natural, I think. So. Yeah. Happy birthday, Brian. Sorry I missed it a couple of days ago.
Happy birthday.
Best wishes, buddy.
All the best, Matt.
Any other shout-outs before we wrap it up? No? Good.
None specifically that I'm going to name. I'd just like to say thank you to everybody that reached out privately to us to ask whether or not I'd been in a fight with a Seahawks fan. No, I hadn't. It's just a little procedure I've had done, and I am recovering well.
Nice. Shall we talk schedule? Because obviously we've been missing for a month. Apologies, people. We've been busy and nothing much has happened anyway. But we're going to do draft things and then schedule things, and then we'll probably disappear again. Because we don't do podcasts just to talk about Twitter rumors or anything. Yeah, that's not who we are. That's not what we do. And we're also pretty busy, all of us. And we don't get paid to do this. It's not our job. So otherwise, we would definitely do a daily podcast talking about, Debo's new shoes or whatever. But yeah, thanks for bearing with us, and we'll be back soon to talk draft and review and all that. And but yeah, I think that's the plan. Whether that happens or not is a different story.
Well, to be fair, Nadgy, we didn't do the Tuesday show this week for that reason. We've established the new live. But the content is getting a little bit quiet. So Nick and Lee have agreed that we're not just going to do a show for the sake of doing a show. So just keep an eye out on Twitter, keep an eye out on the Facebook group, keep an eye out on the YouTube page. But like you said, between now and the season starting, it may not be we do a weekly show or a weekly pod. But if something happens, rest assured. So like this week, Nadgy, I was smiling because everyone was like, no show this week, Paul, on a Tuesday. I was like,
Don't
the Awesome
worry.
Foursome are back. Me and Nick can't compete with the Awesome Foursome. So, but it is good to see that, like you said, we're not just going to do a show for the sake of doing it. So that was why we cancelled this week's live anyway.
Yeah, we have got the draft to look forward to. We've got the draft to digest after the fact, and then we will have the fixture release, which I'm pretty sure will not be announced by Lee because I'm not sure anyone will take it seriously. So after April the 1st's,
Yes.
That was good.
postings.
That was a good one.
But it was
Got a
good.
few people. Got a few people.
It was very, very good work on Photoshop with Mr. Warner.
Yeah.
Yes. I was quite impressed with that myself, even though it was me that did it. I was still quite impressed.
Watch it actually happening when they come and play in London. They'll be like, oh, do you know what? Let's just put the tag on because why not? I don't think the NFL would allow it, but you
No, helmet sticker.
Oh yeah,
That would be
imagine
allowed.
that. Imagine that.
Mm.
Hey, you know how they say, make it happen. You know, wish into existence. So, fingers crossed, everyone.
We will see. Still a few weeks to wait until the schedule release. So, but there we go. So draft to look forward to. I think the season's beginning to ramp up. I think I've enjoyed our little break. I think it draws a line under last season, and now it's all looking ahead. Last season's gone. Still good memories, but it's all about 2023. So, thanks to everyone who listens to and watches the show. Since you've got nothing else to do at the moment, you can like, comment, and subscribe and share. We will be back soon. Until then, go Niners.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Bang, bang, again.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down the